massive number of people have been upgrading. Yes.
There you go. You see the graceful limb that you were talking about before.
The race we've got yet again, and a victor then goes victory to an American, Andy Hampton.
The felt it go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing?
Straight past Santiago Botero, and he's coming up to Pantani.
Armstrong is sitting in the last few hundred metres as we come towards the finish of this monumental stage. And Armstrong,
as we start to approach the line now, Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line.
Is going now to win stage number 15. Sepp Kuss, an emotional finish from Durango in the USA. Sepp Kuss wins.
And we're back. We're just rolling along. Between Two Wheels podcast, Tyler Yonke, stage 13. We've got time trial. Look, yesterday was a barn burner. We 2 days before that, we had a crash by Tadej. Do they take advantage? They don't. So, but is he hurt enough? Then we have Hautecam. He destroys everybody. A bad day by Vingegaard. A bad day by Jorgensen. Differences with Lipowitz, Roglic. Bad day by Evenepoel, but he kind of saves it. Then we have an individual time trial today. 10.9 kilometers up to Peyragudes. Is it going to change things? Is Tadej going to get 2 in a row? I predict he's going to get 3 in a row. That gives a little bit of an indication. It's what we have. Victor's here. Welcome. Tyler Yonke is live. Yes, we are. Thanks, Victor, for showing up. This is Friday, stage 13, Tour de France 2025. Welcome, everybody. Here we go. Let's just take it right on. Once again, we're still down in the the Pyrenees. Okay, and you had the Peyragudes here. What is it? What's the place called? Loudenvielle to Peyragudes. And it goes up to we've had this before. We had this there's a bunch of these up in the mountains in France, which are aircraft landing strips kind of on the high mountains, and they're real steep. So that you come in nice and tight and boom, you have a steep thing and it's slow it down. Or maybe that's where they take off. I don't know. Either way, that we had one of these again up in the mountains here in France, this time in the Pyrenees. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Let's take a look at this on the stage. There's the profile. No, that's yesterday's. That's right. We want to look at the results from yesterday. Tadej Pogačar, he's up 3:31 on Jonas. In third place is Remco Evenepoel, and then Lipowitz vaults his way up 4 places there to 4th place. 5:34, Vauquelin had a good day. 5:40, Oscar Only at 6:05. Primož Roglic, 7:30. Johannesson at 7:44. Felix Gall, 9:21. And Jorgensen at 12:12. So my questions, because I'm American here at the heart. My questions coming into today were multiple. But you had questions yesterday. A lot of them were answered. But it gave more questions going forward, which was Jorgensen. And we've seen this. He's riding much too good to just be done. Right? So you're like, let's see how he does in this time trial. You can't hide today either, right? And especially this mountain time trial. If Jorgensen puts in a good time, I think he's back. And then you're going to put to rest kind of like where, and maybe Visma can go forward with the idea of how are we going to put this thing together? Is he going to be part of this plan? Because you saw interviews, at least I did, with Sepp Kuss after the race and Vingegaard and even Matteo, and they're like, we don't know what's going on. Look, they had to do different plans yesterday. When Sepp Kuss said his race was at the top of the Solar. Okay, so he races to the top, but he's back and forth. He's going hard. He's pushing things. But he was still there over the Cat 3 and then over into the beginning of the Hautecam. I think things are going to change as we go forward and what's going to be that. But I think you're going to be able to once again reintegrate Jorgensen based on how today goes. So that was the results as we went into today. There is the profile for today's stage. It looks it looks a little bit more drawn out here. You had two different time checks and then the time finish, but they go up 1,000. They go up almost 1,000 feet here. 15 up to 16% ramps at the top here. It gets pretty steep at the top, and that's the race. They go ahead in the Loudenvielle, they head out a little bit, and then they do some winding up this climb, and so you can see all the interaction going out there. Now, some of the more interesting aspects of the day were who's going to use time trial bikes, who's going to use road bikes, and then combos of anybody going to put skis on the handlebar extension, time trial bars, basically on the road bike. Is that something that's going to happen? And there's been some commentary about whether that, and it's a mixed bag. Now, you expect Tadej to just blow everybody away regardless. So what's going to, and by the way, I heard this from Jorgensen, where he's like, look, if you have glutes of steel and you're able to be in that time trial position up those climbs, 16% at the top, then good for you. He goes like, for me, it's just not going to happen. So we're going to go through here. This is the quite good NBC's coverage of this, the recap. So here you go, Loudenvielle, around the side of the lake, up there, and then coming back kind of towards where you were at, and then up to Peyragudes. There's the profile for the finish there. Pretty nasty. Starting out the day. By the way, first Verscher, first one rider on the day. And by the way, here's something we'll get into a little bit as well, which is there's a time cut. So you have to do a certain percentage of the winner's time, and with such a short climb and explosive, it was 33%. And they changed it like 10 minutes before the start to 40%. Which means that these sprinters can actually get probably to the finish. No one was outside the time limit today, but if they had had it at 33% with the times that were put up, you would have at least 7 or 10 that wouldn't have made it. Now, would they have ridden harder knowing that it was 33% rather than 40? Probably. So it's hard to deduce it off of that. We had some commentary. Lance Armstrong was like, "That's bullshit. They should just race." Well, Van Aert actually said, yeah, that's bullshit. And you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be changing it. This is the structure we're under. So that's kind of interesting from someone who's in the race and a bigger guy, but he can time trial just fine, so it's not a problem. There you go. So there we start the race out. Verscher, the first rider to go, he kind of sets the time. Look, it's not too difficult at the beginning portion here up to the first time check, which is about 5 minutes or so into the time. And then you start to kick up the road. And once again, he had just a regular road bike. Looks pretty good here. Jonathan Milan, he comes along. He puts up the 7th best time. And now the green jersey is going to be an issue. And I think it's going to be an issue going forward because Jonathan Milan, there's no way he's getting points today. That's going to go to someone more like Tadej Pogačar. And if we go back to, the results on the day as far as coming into this race, 231 for Jonathan Milan, 183 for Pogačar. He's getting close. And if you're not like snagging all these intermediate sprints, he didn't get any on the Hautecam day, he being Jonathan Milan, then you're getting problems. Today, there's sprints, for the stage win. And then you've got tomorrow, you got a sprint point. Now, look, can Trek actually control this thing up until this point? I don't know. They haven't really been done. I guess you're going to have to put someone like Quinn Simmons on the front and control this break until the bottom of the Tourmalet, which is a brutal beast. 18.9 kilometers at 7.4%. You've got to be able to start getting your green points there because when you look at this profile and you see how it goes, just by the matter of attrition, we saw this a lot. Up to 50 guys get up the road yesterday. Okay, and they can't make it to the finish. Matter of fact, they were kept right around 2:10, and that's the amount that Tadej beat Jonas on. By the way, am I the only one that's been able to do that analysis? That the break never got up the road? And I've never heard anybody else say this. I was watching it, rewatching to make sure I'm right. I think Amara at one point got up to 2:15 and then immediately comes back to like 2:10, 2:07. And that 2:10 is the amount of time that Tadej won over Vingegaard in second place. That is one of the biggest gaps, if not the biggest gap of the day that we saw yesterday. My point with this is the green jersey is going to have trouble if you're not getting points in these immediate sprints because you're not going to get them at the end because Tadej is likely going to take those. Who is he going to let a break get away? And by the way, the break really has to get up there in the main group, just has to like kind of shit the bed because at some point they're going to be racing up the Hautecam. I don't know if they're going to, up the Tourmalet. I don't know if they're going to be racing, but you can only go so slow with GC. And those GC riders are likely going to go just as fast as the break. So the break isn't going to get an enormous amount unless they really take off. So that's why Jonathan Milan's going to have some trouble here. Sodell, anyway, for sure comes in there. He gets in the hot seat because he's the first rider to finish. Leonard van Eltveld, he goes up the road. He does a decent amount of time. But the first one to really set things aloof here is Luke Plapp. Luke Plapp starts out the Australian time trial champion. Is it wise for him to be, just drilling it up there? I guess so. He really came to the Tour de France, and he said he came to the Tour de France to win stage the first time trial. It didn't happen, so he's now in effect for this one. But is he going to win? Probably not. Leonard van Eltveld puts in a time of 27:49, goes in the hot seat by 57 seconds over Sebastian Gringenaard of Belgium, but that's not going to last because Luke Plapp is flying up the road here, okay? He's doing everything he can. He's got a disc on the rear wheel. He's on a road bike, but his jersey's untucked, totally unzipped. So what's the point here? There is some odd time trial stuff going on. I know some people are really into it, but if you're gonna have the time trial bike, then you need to do everything, right? Shoe covers, the correct helmet. Now, here's the problem with the helmet. You get the big time trial helmet, it doesn't allow a lot of wind flow. So are you going to be restricted as far as like getting overheated? These are things you gotta worry about. But if you're gonna unzip your jersey like Luke Plapp here is here, then why even have the time trial wheel? Because you're creating a wind sail. He comes through here, puts up an amazing time, 24:51, blows out the time of Van Eltveld by almost 3 minutes. Luke Plapp, or they call him Plappy, which is just one of the worst nicknames you can have. Anyway, Luke Plapp, great time trial. Then you had Lenny Martinez. He's in the polka dot jersey, but he's just borrowing it because who is in the actual winner of the jersey at this point? Well, let's go back here to the results. Let's not spoil the day here. The GC is by Tadej. The points jersey is by Jonathan Milan. The KOM is by Tadej, tied with Lenny Martinez, but he gets it on a point back, count back, and then the team. So Lenny's just borrowing the jersey for the day. And I don't know if there's any KOM points on lease for the day. We'll get to that actually. Actually, we can get to that right here. Are there KOM sprint points? Yes, there are KOM sprint points for the winner of the stage on this one. So Martinez may not get any points. We will take a look. He comes up though, has the second best time of the day. Lenny Martinez coming up here, the finish, 23:49, 23 seconds, 23.49 seconds behind Luke Plapp at a 25:21.93. So pretty good for Lenny Martinez. Luke Plapp, long day up there in the hot seat. Adam Yates, next guy to, good rider to come through. He actually puts up a pretty good time and challenges Luke Plapp, but ends up just not quite getting it. Let's see, what does he end up here on the day? 17 seconds behind Luke Plapp, but that bodes well. So there's certain people you want to look at, and it's always an interesting thing because are they going for it or do they just suck? And when you see these climbers like Adam Yates, I wanted to see Adam Yates, I wanted to see Simon Yates, I wanted to see Jorgensen, I wanted to see Sepp Kuss, I wanted to see how they were going to go to see if they're okay, right? I didn't expect a good time from Sepp Kuss as an example, but I wanted to see how he was climbing on the day. If it's just easy for him because he's a climber, okay, then we've had some things that we can make adjudication on. Ben Healy is the real dealie. There you go. Ben Healy, we're also interested to see his time. He's trying to do some GC stuff. Now you start to come into the last 10 people, and you have Jorgensen coming in, and he hits out. Now, coming into the first time check, I'm going to take a look here at the live stats. Jorgensen comes over. This is a little bit... he comes over at the first time check with the best time so far. So he put in like a few seconds over Luke Plapp. He was actually, Matteo was about, I want to say 8 seconds better than Luke Plapp at the first time trial. So he's looking good. Now, once again, that first part, it was a little more power riding. It was a little more time trial-y. So if you had a time trial bike, he did not. He just had a regular aero road helmet. He did have shoe covers, but he didn't have aero bars. and he was looking pretty good. He comes up to the next, there you go. 8 seconds best on the first time check. Next guy to go, Florian Lipowitz. He's running a full-on time trial bike. Up at the top here, you had Carlos Rodriguez, 1:08 behind Luke Plapp, not so good. Florian Lipowitz is blazing out there. And then at the second time check, Jorgensen is actually just a tad, I think he's like 0.9 seconds. Let's take a look here. Let's look at the live stats. The next one, Mateo, he was just like 0.9 seconds above Luke Plapp. So he had lost a little bit of time to Luke Plapp going into that one. Now, Remco Evenepoel strikes out. He's got a time trial bike. There you go. Luke Jorgensen, 0.92 at the second time check. Decent ride, not bad at all. Jonas Vingegaard, second to last to go, has a full-on time trial bike and full helmet. Everything you would expect for a flat time trial, not a climbing time trial like we have today. But let's see how it goes. I personally was watching Vingegaard before he hit the first time check, and I'm like, does not look good. He does not look good to me. Looks like he's pushing heavy gears more than he is normally. However, at the start, you had Tadej, and Tadej was looking splendid. He was ready to go. He has a different bike than they had said. He's got this black stripped out bike, no paint on it, because they're saying paint's like an extra pound. He had no bar tape. He had no beat on bottle cages, okay? None of that. He was just, I'm just going to go that. And by the way, he also said he did not use a radio on the day either. Just went by feel. I'm just going to go full out. It's 10.9 kilometers. I'm going to go full. And he sprints out of this gate here looking good. Now, full time trial bike. I mean, he didn't use a time trial bike. He used a road bike. So you've got a contrast here of Jorgensen, as an example, using a road bike. Luke Plapp had used a road bike, zipped on, jersey zipped undone. Jorgensen, like I said, road bike. Mateo, that's the same fucking person. Vingegaard, time trial bike. Lipowitz, Roglic, Evenepoel, time trial bikes. Vingegaard, time trial bike. Tadej, road bike. So we'll see how they do. Tadej looking good. Johannesson puts in a time here. He's 23 seconds off at the time check to Mateo. So Mateo's coming back quite nicely on the day. Very good time. However, Roglic comes through on the, what is this, the second time check, puts 30 seconds into Jorgensen. He is obviously on a good day. Now we've said, hey, where's Roglic been? What's that? Look, lost what, a minute and a half or so to his teammate Lipowitz yesterday. But it comes to time trials, this guy is no cheap animal. Remember, he wrecked, I think it was 4 times at the Giro. Okay, so he was winning the Giro. He had the pink jersey. He wrecks 4 times. He drops out of that. Now he's getting ready for the Tour. It's probably not the best preparation. It's not like Tadej's had or Vingegaard's had building flooring out there, right? He's been doing fine. But here we go. Roglic looking good. Coming up to the second time check, like I said, 30 seconds. Oscar only having a decent one, but not quite pushing it. Lipowitz still doing well. But now let's see how Vingegaard. Did we get him at the first time check? Here we go. First time check, Vingegaard goes through just 3 seconds off of Evenepoel, who sets the first time check alight, but 10 seconds ahead of Mateo. 10 seconds ahead of Roglic. Vauquelin was 12 seconds off there, but like I said, Evenepoel. Now remember, look, you can look here at the first time check. Evenepoel sets it. Roglic is 10 seconds off of him, tied with Jorgensen, and then puts 30 seconds between time check 1 and 2 in just 10 minutes, puts 10 seconds, 30 seconds. So he actually puts 30 seconds full onto Mateo. Very solid. Vingegaard goes through this fine. Tadej comes up to the first time check, and, well, here you go. He ends up putting just a few seconds, 4 seconds, almost 5 seconds up on Vingegaard. So he's flying. Now, this first section was much flatter. It was all about power. It was all about aerodynamics, and Tadej puts time into everybody on a road bike. There you go. Now, my friend Tom's messaged me today. Sorry, I didn't respond yet about like your doping, and I'm like, look, this is my feeling on this. I don't know, but if you're gonna watch the Tour at this point, and that's all you're going to be pointing out, why are you watching it? This is a sporting event. I was sitting at a bar this evening with my wife. We were having some food, and we're watching basketball. It's the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz. It was horrible basketball. If they could dope and play better basketball, I would watch it. It was unwatchable. It was WNBA shit going on, okay? So I'm enjoying what's going on here. If they get popped in 5-10 years, perhaps. I will say this too. Tadej did not put on, he was in the mix there on the up the Hautecam of the times. We showed the times yesterday. He did not, I mean, this is technology, we're light years. This is 2025. Those were 30 years ago. Those were 1994, 1996 times that are still holding up for a reason, because all those guys were doped. You're just now getting, your bodies are, and things are changing. I mean, things are, technology, everything is so much different. Training, everything. Does that mean Tadej's clean? I don't know. I say it's about time we catch up with this. Even when you see that though, and you saw 2 minutes being put up by Tadej. One, he did not set the best time up the mountain that's ever been. That's still Bjarne Riis, 1990. Unbelievable, right? Still Bjarne Riis. Vingegaard's time was not much different. His best time ever in 2022. It was way off. Vingegaard was way off. So when you're looking at him putting in 2 minutes time, it's like, yeah, but Vingegaard didn't even put in his best time. He's had a much better time that was more respectable than what we've seen here. It's still not up to par, and he just had a bad day yesterday. So when you're seeing Tadej crush people, sometimes you're like, is he crushing the competition or is he crushing history? Maybe it's a little bit of both. But once again, if that's going to be your focus, is like, hey, then don't watch it. I'm just here for some entertainment, and I'm gonna talk about it as entertainment. And if it's too unbelievable, we'll try to go there. But I'm trying to look at times, and I'm trying to just see how things are different. Just the way riders are nowadays. And maybe I'm naive. We'll see. Okay, Jorgensen comes up to the finish. He lost time. Remember, he was up on Plapp on the first time check. He was up on Plapp on the second time check by 0.9 seconds. He had lost a little bit there. And then he comes back in here and he loses just basically 4 seconds to Luke Plapp at the finish. Didn't get himself in the hot seat. But I would say this, as far as your overall time, Luke Plapp is no chintzy person for a time trial. He waxed you on the time trial 1 in this race, Matteo. So after what you did yesterday, coming back today, putting this time in, I think this is great. This is actually good. You don't need to be winning this. You're not there yet. We'll keep working on your young man. You got your shot. But it says a lot about the Americans, at least for him. Now, Sepp Kuss came through earlier. He actually was putting up, didn't have a good first time check, had a decent second one, pretty decent third one as well. We'll check out his results on the day. Very respectable. Caught his 2 minute man, actually. Simon Yates, and I think he actually would have done possibly another 20 seconds better if he tried, but you can tell he came up to Simon and almost like had kind of stalled as to whether he's going to pass him because it's your teammate and your friend. And so he was kind of like, but then he kept going and he finished pretty strong. But I think he could have waxed off another 20 seconds here. It's nothing other than to see that he is in the mix for his team. He's back to being Sepp Kuss, but not quite. Because if he was back to being the Sepp Kuss that we know, he would not have been the person that the team expected to finish on the Soler yesterday. They would have expected him to be dragging Vingegaard on the Hautecam, which is what they thought Jorgensen was going to do. There you go. Anyway, Evenepoel comes there once again. He was first place on the first time check. And then he starts to fall down here. The second time check, not so good. Leipowitz is coming through looking very strong. Once again, in the time trial position. Unbelievable. I don't know how he does that. Jorgensen starts piling it on and starts to come better at the different time checks. Let's take a look at the time checks here for Vingegaard. He comes through in the first time check, just a few seconds behind Evenepoel. Comes in then the second time check, and he actually is above Evenepoel by quite a bit because Evenepoel just drops off going into time check 2. Time check 3, which at the finish we'll get to in just a bit, but he's continuing to move it. Leipowitz, once again, firing away here. Felix Gall has a decent time, coming in 22 seconds behind Luke Plapp. Roglic, though, firing to the finish, looking good, staying down in his time trial bars the whole time. However, Evenepoel, as he's coming up through time check 2, down 26 seconds to Roglic. Remember, Roglic went from even on Matteo to time check 2 being up 30 seconds. So he, being Remco, lost this 30 seconds. And you're like, okay, that's about where Matteo went. But this is Remco. Okay, he's a time trial, world time trial champion. I know it's an uphill time trial, but you can still do something a little bit more than that, or at least that's a little bit more expected. Roglic coming up to the finish, puts in 37 seconds into Luke Plapp. He's a new leader of the day. Wonderful time for Roglic. Good to see him coming in there. Vingegaard coming up to the finish here, this time check 2. He puts 30 seconds into Roglic, who had made the swap from time check 1 to time check 2, 30 seconds above. So therefore, those people like Matteo, as an example, Vingegaard puts a minute into him from time check 1 into time check 2. Very impressive for most of those. Once again, that's also the same for Vingegaard. Puts a minute into him between those 2 time checks because he came through 30 seconds down on Roglic. Tadej comes through on the second time check, up 23 seconds, almost 24 seconds on Vingegaard. So this is just a guy that went through time check 1 about 4 seconds ahead of everybody. The main guys, they're all, 10, 8 seconds there on the mount. And then boom, he just unloads and puts a time check in the next 10 minutes that is unbelievable to the rest of the group, putting in 23 seconds on Vingegaard himself, which is, still another 30 seconds down to Matteo and Roglic. Actually, it's a minute to Matteo, a minute to Evenepoel, and even more, but only 30 seconds down to Roglic. Lipowitz come through 35 seconds off of Roglic. So look, he took a minute and a half to yesterday. Gives back about 35 seconds today, but still a very quality time for him. First time rider on the tour as far as, trying to make it for the GC, looking very good. Now, Remco, he's suffering. He comes in here, you got the last 400 or 500 meters here. It is steep shit coming in here, especially when you're riding a time trial bike. They're coming around the corner here. Let's see here. There you go. So you got 500 meters here it's probably about 600 here for Vingegaard. Around the corner is about 400. And if you go back here, you can see there is Evenepoel just going around the corner. He's got a few hundred meters on Vingegaard. And that, I think, highlights kind of where Vingegaard, and it's actually helping him on the day, which is he's got a carrot. It's not just any carrot. It's Evenepoel. You put time on him. And by the way, has Evenepoel ever been caught in a time trial, you think, in his life? I would say this is the first time, if he gets caught ever, that he would be done. Now, there goes Vingegaard. He's coming up here. 1K to go for Tadej. He's looking good. But Remco is suffering like a beast coming up here in the last bit. Vingegaard chasing him down, gets him, comes up in here on his, it's a slow burn. Comes up here on his left-hand side. You look at this from the overhead. It's almost painful to watch, but they're like it's like 16%. This is in the last 75 kilometers. Crosses over him, comes out in front, gets another shot, and now works his way to the finish. Up 44 seconds on Primož Roglic. Vingegaard puts in 30 seconds on the first time check, the second time check, puts another 15 on him for the finish. And then just a few seconds back is Evenepoel. Wow, look at that time. However, coming up on both of them is Tadej in the yellow jersey, just blazing away here. Is he looking like he's have it? And he puts in a time of 23 flat, 36 seconds up on Jonas Vingegaard, destroys the Tour de France field, takes some more green points, takes some more time on the yellow jersey, and what an amazing accomplishment for this gentleman today. There you go. He does a fist pump. There you go. 36 seconds. 120 up on Roglic. 156 on Florian Lipowitz. Luke Plapp holds that to 5th place. He had been up there forever in the hot seat all day long. Matteo in 6th place at 2:03. Oscar Only at 2:06. Adam Yates 2:15. Lenny Martinez 2:21. Felix Gall 2:22. And you got the yellow jersey there. Tadej 21 victories in the Tour de France. We've just talked about Mark Cavendish. And by the way, I want to say this. I don't have a problem with him just continually winning. And I don't know who it was I heard today, basically, and it's what I've said continually, which is you don't hear complaints about, oh, Mark Cavendish, would he let someone else win? Which is exactly what we heard in the Giro last year. Like, teams were, Roman Bardet, other teams were complaining about, like, are you going to let us win? It's like, when do you say that to sprinters? They get 4, 5, 6 stage wins in a race, and you're just like, oh, that sprinter, he's killing it. How about, you know, you don't say to him, would you let someone else win? It's so pathetic, people. And I don't mind Tadej. If you got the power to do it, let's say you're even cheating, right? You're doping. Then just keep doing it. I don't give a shit. Tadej wins. He's up 407 now on Vingegaard. Remco 724, still holding in the white jersey. Florian Leipowitz at 730. Oscar only at 811. And Kevin Vauquelin 815. Go all the way down there. Felix Gall 1143 and Matteo at 1415. I could see Matteo taking back, maybe even getting back into the 4th, 5th place here, possibly, assuming that he had one bad day and that he's still riding like he is. He's not going to lose 10 minutes. He might be able to do something. There you go. There's the leaders. Tadej on the yellow, Tadej in the mountains, Jonathan Milan barely in the points, and best young riders not eligible for Tadej. For the winning there for that category. Let's go to the fines for the day. Team Visma Lease Bike, breach of regulations and guidelines concerning vehicle movements during the race or failure to comply with the instructions of the commissaires and or organization. 500 Swiss francs, nothing else in there. There's the complimentary points, the King of the Mountains points on the day. 10 went to Ving, and it's just the top there. 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1 down to Matteo for the top 6. Good for them. Points for the riders at the finish. 20 to Tadej, down to Harry Sweeney with 1 on 15th position there. Youth rider Lipowitz kind of wins that on the day. And the team classification goes to Visma on the day. There we go. So let's take a look at the kind of the breakdown of the timing points. One, Tadej, of course, comes through there. But remember, Remco, 4 seconds, 8 seconds for Vingegaard. So we had a road bike, time trial bike, road bike with Matteo, time trial bike with Roglic. Vauquelin, I think he had a road bike. Lipowitz had a time trial bike. Plapp had a road bike, and we don't really care about the others. Time check 2 goes up 23 seconds to Pogačar over Vingegaard. Roglic at 52 seconds. Lipowitz at 101, Evenepoel 119, Jorgensen 123, Luke Plapp only, Adams, Kevin Vauquelin, and at the finish, the times at the finish, 36 seconds over Vingegaard for Tadej, Roglic at 120, Lipowitz 156, Plapp, Jorgensen, Omley, Adam Yates, Martinez, Felix Gall, and there we go. So I'm going to look at the results here. Those are the results on the day. I want to look. Jorgensen. No, that's the GC. We'll get there in a second here. Jorgensen, like I said, we know who won. So I'm going to focus kind of on some of these other parts here, which is the 2 Americans that I'm concerned about that had bad days. And by the way, I think Vingegaard had a very bad day. You didn't see he was even close to his best time up to Hautecam. So he's had 2 bad days now. He had a bad time trial. He had a bad Hautecam. So why is that team continually on the march as if he is the strongest rider in the race, not having bad days? That, to me, is it doesn't work. And they maybe need to restructure that. And if they had been riding maybe more of a little bit defensive role, maybe this would be still in check here today. I don't know. Who knows how that would be. But anyway, Jorgensen making quite the comeback, only losing 2:02. But really putting, additional time into like Gall, Vauquelin, Remco, a lot of time, 39 seconds to Remco. Johannesson puts in 52 seconds to him. Enric Mas lost a bunch of time. And here you go. Sepp Kuss down there at 21st at 3:18. Obviously, just not doing his hardest time trial, but top 21. Top 21 on the time trial today. Very respectable based on the fact that he's fucking in good shape and he's ready to climb. So for that, I'm pretty excited. Let's take a look here at Twitter. There's a picture of Vingegaard passing Evenepoel. I don't know what that one was. Look at that. That's pretty intense little climb to the finish here. You can see that nice and steep. rough day for those guys. Okay, so maybe we'll take a look here at tomorrow's stage. Hautecam. Let's go forward here just a bit to Luchon Super Baniers. This was your race up the finish tomorrow. Like I said, it's going to be a struggle for this sprint point here for Jonathan Milan to keep that intact, because you got an HC you're already going up. Okay, then and that, by the way, we'll get to the profiles here. Then a Cat 2 up the Col d'Aspin. I mean, these are legendary climbs. Loudenvielle up to Luchon. Sorry, that's a Peyragudes up to Peyragudes, 7.1 kilometers, Cat 1, and then the HC to finish off in the day up to Super Baniers. There's the Super Baniers climb, 12 kilometers, pretty nasty, a little bit more than you had today. Col du Tourmalet, that is just a beast, almost 20 kilometers, 18.9 kilometers at 7.4, and it kicks at the top. Now, fine, kick at the top. You're going to have guys being able to recover down this, goes over to 89, and then you have, say, 90, almost, 20 kilometers or so just downhill before you start to cruise up the Aspin, which is a Cat 2. So you're going to have some guys that just suffered a bit that are able to reconnect. But if you're having to reconnect, you're already knowing on the day you're already in trouble. It's like what we saw with the Solaire with Jorgensen, Evenepoel, Ben Healy. Those that did catch back on Jorgensen and Evenepoel, you're just doing it to get closer to the finish to hopefully have a better time. There's the Aspin, not too bad. It looks pretty benign. The Peyragudes kicks up at the top there, some plus 9%, 7.1 at 8.1%. That's pretty nasty. But then the Super Banier, it's pretty steady all the way. But you've got 182 kilometers, 120 miles or so in the legs, and then the Super Banier, 7.5, and it kicks at the top. So good luck to those gentlemen, right? That's tomorrow's race. Saturday. Sunday is going to be a little more of a transition stage, like we said. Then we've got a day break, and then we have the Mont Ventoux. Yikes, everybody. Victor says, Between Two Wheels podcast, thanks for live streaming. American flag. Absolutely. Glad to do it. Excited about it. So, as far as things to take away from today, did the time trial bike? I don't know. That's all I'll feel, whether you did that. I saw some people doing some, the shirt unzipped by Luke Plapp. Okay. But guys that rode the time trial bike, there was a bunch of them up in there in the top 10, but you had, Jonas rode a time trial bike. Roglic rode a time trial bike. It's called discipline, being able to do it like that. And my problem would be getting out of the saddle. Sometimes it just does it, your knees can hit the bars and stuff, but their bikes are tuned to that. And then, Tadej didn't do it. I don't think he won I don't think, as a matter of fact, if Jonas had ridden a regular road bike, you would have any different time gaps. It's just all about comfort. And if you're good there, you're good there. Wearing that helmet seems to be a little distracting and hot. But other than that, I don't think it's all that big a deal. I don't think the bikes had much to do with the legs. Tomorrow, who do we expect? Get Jonas some help by sending Jorgensen up in the break. Maybe he's able to he's 14 minutes back now. Maybe he's able to take the win tomorrow, get some guys up in the break. You got satellite riders, but you also have a chance to get an American a stage win. I don't know if UAE is going to try to control the bike. Visma, don't. Just let things go. Right? Make these other teams control it. I think you're going to see Evenepoel losing more time, and then in the next few weeks he's going to get in some breaks and just doing time trials or stage stuff. UEF education, Healy is going to try to get up in the break. But as far as that goes, Tadej's going to win tomorrow again. We'll see you tomorrow, Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be here.